I'm glad for the opportunity today to talk to Graham Cowan. Graham Cowan is one of those people who was involved in the earliest days in Are You OK?, which has helped people to start talking about the mental health issue. And he shared with us in a recent day when we focused on mental health and suicide. So Graham, it's good to have you on the show.
Thanks very much, Keith.
Graham, tell us a little bit about your own story, because I think that's important when we think about the beginning of something.
Definitely. In about 2000, I went through a really, really profound depression. I was in a senior role and I just literally crashed and burned. Like, there was difficulties in business. But in a very short period of time, I lost my job and my marriage broke down and became estranged from my kids. And it really started a horrendous 5-year episode, and I just really gave up. And to be honest, I wouldn't have made it without the love and support and care of my parents. I really wouldn't.
I think it's important for people to know that you don't have to be at some bottom of some pile to struggle with mental health issues, do you? You can be relatively successful in the public sphere and find... What do you think? Was it a number of things that came together, or what happened?
Yeah, it's a really good point, because it can affect everyone, and I think it is really a combination of genetics. They say genetics probably contributes about 50%, but there's also, I also found with my episodes of depression, they're often linked to stress and stressful situations and working too hard, not having balance, not having exercise. And so it is a combination of those things. Like, people have a predisposition, but you can do things that keep you well.
And anxiety is one of the big things for many people, isn't it?
It is. Anxiety is huge. There's more people have anxiety than depression. But there's often similar things that can help, you know, getting outside, walking in nature, taking time to rest, you know, to meditate or to pray, to have silence, and have good friends around you, or good support. All those things are real fundamental.
So tell me then, what really helped you get through? You talked about your parents. What was it? Simple things, just being there for you?
It was simple things. It was a combination of things. You know, I did start to walk each day, and I gradually built up to probably about 45 minutes each day, and that was a really, really important element. And that helped to, I think, lift my mood a bit, just doing that really religiously. And then I made a conscious effort to try and reach out to family and friends, because I'd really withdrawn. I'd become very, very isolated, and I made a conscious effort. And the funny thing is, I didn't feel like it, but when I did it, it was great to catch up with people, and I think that all helped. And then someone introduced me to meditation, and for me, I tried that when I was depressed, and I really wasn't able to do it. Because I'd lifted my mood a little bit, that really helped as well.
And Are You OK? Has really been one of many, because today in our conference and in many other aspects of our work, we're conscious that it isn't just one, it's many, many people who are in this area of trying to help people. Are You OK? Tell us a bit about that and how it began.
Yeah, well, it was Gavin Larkin was our founder, and he lost his father tragically to suicide. And Gavin was from an advertising background, and he came to it with a different mindset. And the mindset was, well, let's not have a National Suicide Prevention Day. Let's have a day about connection. And so the byline for Are You OK? Is a conversation could change your life. And he'd heard about me because of my books, and we met and had a coffee in Crow's Nest in 2009. And I just thought, you know, this is spot on, because I knew through my experience with my parents how important that was. And so we just knew, and we just had this real belief in, you know, the concept of conversation could change your life. It wasn't easy. We had many, many setbacks, but it's wonderful to see how it has really grown. And we now have programs in schools and universities. We have specialist ones in the hospitality sector, the rail sector, the legal fraternity, and even the motor trades area. So we've got really specialist programs, and but we've still got work to do as well.
And it's reaching out to kick off a conversation sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and as you said before, you know, we really see ourselves as a gateway to other players in the sector. We're about having a conversation and guiding people to seek help, and that could be to see their doctor, or it could be to, you know, to connect with some of Wesley's facilities, or to Lifeline, or to Beyond Blue, or whatever. But the conversation starts it, and when people are in a really bad place, and I've been there, you give up hope. And so to have someone that matters to you suggest, well, maybe you should just take this one step. Maybe you should make a call. Maybe you should see the doctor. That really matters, and it really makes a difference.
And have you found that some people, even by that question being asked of them, it's really kick-started something new for them?
Totally. Look, we just have hundreds and hundreds of examples of where that conversation has made a real difference. It started a really meaningful dialogue, and it's always just the start of the journey, because just the conversation doesn't fix things, but just having that support at a really crucial time really matters.
And we've actually, in terms of trying to raise the issue of mental health, said even just talking about the issue and raising it within the public sphere, that these are not all silly people. These are people who genuinely are on a journey, and their journey has been interrupted by some painful episodes for them.
Absolutely, and we are all touched with it in some way. Like 1 in 4 people each year has depression, anxiety, or a substance abuse problem. So we all know 4 people. So we all know someone that actually is touched by it. And you'll see that in my talks, I ask people to raise their hands if they know someone close to them. And you'll see 90% of the audience raise their hand. And it's the same in every single audience, doesn't matter what industry, what forum. So even if we're not directly affected ourselves, we know someone. And reducing the stigma and encouraging people to seek help is a really, really important component.
And what would you say to somebody who is where you were? You know, that you're in that place where a number of things have kind of come together, because I think it's a bit like that, isn't it? It's a painful storm that just gathers, isn't it, around you? What do you say to somebody in that situation?
Well, I first of all say, don't think too far ahead. Just try and focus on the next day and the next week, and try to figure out how you can get some exercise in that week. If you haven't seen a doctor or a psychologist and you've tried a few things, make that appointment and go and see that person. If you've got a friend that you trust and you haven't told them, share it, because just by sharing it reduces the pain of it. You know, the problem shared is a problem halved. So they're probably the top 3 things, I think. You know, get outside, get in nature, have a bit of a walk, seek expert help, but also confide in a friend or a loved one that can support you.
And sometimes that person may be walking alongside you, living with you, and not really realise what it is that's going on inside.
That's exactly right. And I think often wonderful things happen on a walk, because you're walking side by side, you're not, face to face. And I just think people can be more open in that way. The defences can drop and they can be a little bit more honest. And it's not always what you say, it's just your presence, it's just being in a nice environment that can make a big difference.
Graham, I'm just pleased you're sharing with Wesley Mission and the Rotary Club of Sydney in a special day, and that you're keeping that work up. And do you have to keep, just as a final question, do you have to keep looking after yourself when you've been through this experience?
Definitely. And I had a wake-up call about 18 months ago. I'd had a really, really busy period, and I've been well for 10 years, but I suddenly, crashed and burned. And but I took my own medicine. I began walking, and I resolved to walk. It was the September before last. I resolved to walk 10,000 steps every day in September. I went back and saw my psychiatrist, got back on antidepressants, and told friends straight away, and turned things around in about 3 to 4 weeks. So, but it was a wake-up call, because you can get complacent and not realise how important it is. Because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after other people.
And as a Christian leader and involved in Christian ministry, I mean, one of the truths is that we often view this as some kind of failure, and some kind of, it can't happen to people who believe in God and who walk that way, but it can. And I'm just grateful that you've shared with us something of your story, and we look forward to that ongoing friendship. And God bless you, and thanks for coming with us today.
Thanks, Keith, and I really appreciate the work that you, Wesley, and Sydney Rotary are doing with this. It's getting communities involved, helping to reduce the stigma is a really important component.
Well, thank you, and that's been lovely to share that. What at times is a difficult story, but it's a healing story and a story of positivity.